Welcome to Factorio Space Age. My name is Nilaus and we are here with the Megabase build, and this is the hardest part of the design process. This is the PROMETHIUM science. I know a lot of, well, not a lot, but other people who are making Megabases, they kind of go like, oh, no, yeah, I'm going to skip PROMETHIUM, but you can't do that. It's cheating. So we're of course going to make our PROMETHIUM science go to 1 million science per minute, and that's going to be a big challenge. And you can also see that maybe it looks a little bit different from your game. I've added the mod to remove the particles so that it performs better. It actually got us some much needed updates. So what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at spaceships. Today there are a number of steps we'll go through here, and if we look at PROMETHIUM, then you can see PROMETHIUM requires three different things. PROMETHIUM science requires three different things, and therefore it's also going to be more than one episode. It requires some PROMETHIUM asteroid chunks. That's what we're going to cover today. It's going to require some quantum processes. It's going to require some bidirects, and then the final thing is it's going to require a massive piece of orchestration to make sure that it doesn't just collide, because we're messing with hundreds of thousands of bidirects and it's a little bit dangerous. So we need to have really good logistical orchestration to make sure that there are fail-safes and there's a rhythm and a cadence and all that stuff. And also on top of that, we have to make sure that it actually produces 1 million science per minute. So that's going to be how we do this in 4 different episodes. What's very important is that this PROMETHIUM science can only be made on a space platform, so there's no sort of dropping it down to novice. And PROMETHIUM chunks are really, really awful. They have a stack size of 1, which means that you can't stack them. That's kind of what stack size of 1 means. It also means that they are absolutely horrible to store. And those are the issues: the storage and collection of PROMETHIUM chunks, and the storage and expiry of bidirects. Those are the main challenges here. But the actual thing that compromises us the most is actually if we look at our spaceship here, and if we look at the frame rate. So we are on this pretty good PC. We can't really keep up with the frames anymore. I don't mind, but this is why I saved PROMETHIUM to the last bits, so that once we do this, we really don't have to keep playing with this frame rate. Right, so I have done multiple iterations of the ship, so I'm just going to show you the iterations we came with, and then we're going to go through the details, the different modules of this, because what I've done is I've of course made it a modular design. This is the first ship that I made. This one was designed to go all the way to the Shattered Planet and back again. So the whole design principle about this was, let's get to the Shattered Planet. On top of that, we also sort of wanted to bring back some stuff. So I have a massive storage. I'll come back to that. But basically what you're seeing here is, this is the spaceship. The modules that you see are the ones we're going to keep using for the future iterations of the ship. And this is really how I like making it, because then we can understand each of the modules, and then we can apply them to different principles or different ships. And when you make a bigger ship, you don't have to redo the whole thing. You can just simply use the modules because you've designed them so well. Of course, all these modules, well, not the modules, but the actual spaceships, the version 1, 2, and 3, are available to patron supporters, as well as the save game. So thank you very much everyone who's supporting on Patreon, and then means that you can get your PROMETHIUM ships just like that if you are a supporter of the channel. Right, so this one was designed to go out to the Shattered Planet and come back, and that means it needs to be fast. It also had like a monstrously big storage, but when I don't want to go to the Shattered Planet, I was actually wanting to collect more, but maybe have less storage, but also sort of be able to process continuously. So a ship that was wider, this one is 4 chunks wide, and sort of these chunks that the game is operating with, the big squares, and we wanted it to be a little bit bigger than that. So this is now a bigger ship. We can see that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chunks wide. So we just added a 50% width to it. And what do we spend that 50% width? Well, you can see the modules here are pretty much the same. We'll go into the modules, but we added a lot more storage here. We also made the ship shorter, but then spread out the storage module here, and we have a better optimized setup for actual producing. But you know, this just wasn't big enough, so I did for the final form that's a little bit bigger. Yeah, this ship doesn't fit on the screen anymore, so we zoom in, and it is now 8 chunks wide. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 chunks wide. That is a monstrously big ship. Weight wise, it is 10,000 tons. So yeah, What we're going to do today is then walk through the modules for this, because the modules are really what dictates. The modules are basically the same as the previous iteration, but they're just a little bit better. So basically, from each iteration, I just found out that some things I need to make a little bit better. So the modules are the front, the ammo production, the logistics location, the power, the production capacity, the monster storage, and of course the thrusters here at the back. We're going to cover each of those a little bit in detail. I'm not going to build them, but I'm going to be walking through how they work. Let's start with the first part. We're here to collect PROMETHIUM, so it's all about the PROMETHIUM collection. What I found out was that I was actually flying the ship so fast that once I got out into the really dense part of the PROMETHIUM fields, maybe like 400,000 or 500,000 kilometers out, then I needed more collectors. I also saw that with these railguns, we actually don't need as many of these. Like, I needed a lot of these when I go all the way to the Shadow Planet, but if I only go like 400,000 or 500,000 kilometers out, then I don't need as many. So I optimized the front so that I have less shooters, and then I have more collectors. These collectors are going in here. You can see they go in on either side, and this one goes in sort of on balancing on each. So that means I have 3 collectors going into a belt, 3 collectors into a belt, 3 collectors into a belt, and so on and so forth. This is, of course, not surprisingly, a module that we do like this, and then it just repeats. Very, very neat. And the only output is, the only input is this belt. This belt carries the railguns and the rockets, and then that gets spread out to this. And the only output is the PROMETHIUM. So notice that these ones here are collecting PROMETHIUM. They are not collecting the normal asteroids. We do that in another place. But the front is all about PROMETHIUM, and you can see they are busy. They are busy collecting PROMETHIUM, so having them also collect something else would be a huge waste. So we needed to collect PROMETHIUM and nothing else. The structure of this, if we look at here, I have set up the railguns to be shooting, of course, at the huge ones, but also at the big PROMETHIUM chunks, PROMETHIUM asteroids. The reason why I'm doing that is because there are so many of them, and when I shoot these a little bit more than I need to, then they also cut through a lot. They don't only shoot at the big ones, but they will also shoot at sort of these no, that's even medium, the even bigger one, these ones out here, and the railguns will cut through, so it'll also cut through a lot of other stuff, and that's exactly what we want. We want to cut through as much as possible. Likewise down here we have these shooting at the big PROMETHIUM, but I'm also shooting at the medium PROMETHIUM because we want to get these rockets out so that they actually just blow up. You can see here, blow up everything around them as well. And of course you need explosive rockets because you're simply not going to get or you need the AoE damage to take these out. This is way overscaled, but I like this to be way overscaled. Also, there's a big buffer in here in each of these, but you can see that they're barely shooting out here. We're 200,000 kilometers out, and these are barely shooting. It's mainly the railguns doing the work, and then, yeah, okay, you can see there are, of course, coming out here, but it's not so much. Lasers are here to just take out any of the smaller asteroids, and, well, no ammo, no normal gun swords. They are completely useless once you have, I don't know, I think I have 20-something here. Yeah, 22 laser turrets, and then it gets a little bit expensive. So 22, then you don't really need anything that need the normal gun turrets. So on this one, if we look at this, it goes in. The collection here is, you can see that these 3 out here plus these 3 out here go into one, and then 1, 2, 3 that go into the next, 1, 2, 3 into the next, and 1, 2, 3 into the last one here all the way in. So we basically have up to 4 full belts inbound of PROMETHIUM chunks as we get further out. Let's see if we have something that's a little bit further out. You are not that far out. This is on the way back. Okay, so we don't have anyone that's further out where we can really see the highest density here. This one is, yeah, you're actually a good place. So you can see here, this is flowing now at full belt capacity. So this is neat, that once we are, in this case, 450,000 kilometers out, we are getting 4 full belts inbound here. So let's use this as an example. The corners here, okay, so that was the front. If we look at the sides here, these are also like super busy, and it works absolutely wonderful. So what are we going to do in terms of resource collection? Well, the resource collection works like this, that each of these here on the side, they are collecting anything except the PROMETHIUM, but they're only collecting when there is a lack of products on the belt. So this one is feeding into the belt. As you can see here, feeding into this main belt. This belt goes all the way around, it is quite important that it goes like clockwise in this case, because this one also goes clockwise. So it goes in and then feeds into the production, goes around over here, and then goes into production again. Yeah, it's a big ship, goes into production and goes over here and then gets supplemented from the other side. That means, of course, that the main ones that are collecting are the ones up here. And you can see how much is even going by. So I don't even need at all anything up front. You can see the consumption rate we have on the ship is very, very low. Like, we're really not getting much in here. So having this one just out on the side picking up is really all we need. I have way overscaled the defenses here, but it's just one of those things where let's just make sure that we don't get sort of a random thing coming in from the side. I mean, it shouldn't happen. These ones are shooting a little bit, but if we look at this one, this has done exactly 0 damage and 0 kills. So yeah, they're probably not going to do much, these ones, but we have them, and you might cut them out if you want to. They cost a little bit of weight, so like this one, for example, has shot exactly 0 times. Maybe this is also a new ship, but you know, still not really doing much compared to, let's say, the ones in the corners here. They are, yeah, they're doing something. This one's only done 280,000 kills, but still, it is a relatively new ship then. So that means we have this running by. We have 2 belts that are sort of circumventing the ship. One is the ammo belt, and the other one is the asteroid belt. The PROMETHIUM is taken separately here. So if we follow the stream of PROMETHIUM, then it goes down here. You can see that we have measuring here. We're measuring all of it so that we get a sense of how much we actually have. And that goes back into this one so that we can, in here, monitor that we have 259,000 PROMETHIUM chunks stored. So how does that work? Well, the PROMETHIUM chunks, they have a stack size of 1. So if we put it into this box, one of these boxes here, they have a capacity of 50 if they're legendary. That means that a 4x4 space here can only contain 50 chunks, which is absolutely atrocious compression. So alternatively, if we look at a belt here that has 8, so if we store it in belts, then just sort of having, instead of a box, then we just had 16 belts. 16 times 8 would be way better. It would be much better just to have 18 belts. But then it comes up like, oh yeah, you know what? You can actually do belt weaving. So what happens is that each of one of these chunks here, they will contain, when they're full, of course, will contain, let's take sort of somewhere in the middle here. So this one jumps 6 tiles. It is 6 tiles long that jumps 4 tiles, right? So each of those 6 tiles will have 8 when it's fully stacked. That means, and same with this one, and the same with this one. So that means at any one of these locations, we actually have 3 belts underlying here. We have the green, the red, and the blue. That means that each one of these tiles will contain 3 times 8, that's 24. But it gets better because we also sort of leave it on this side back and forth. And that means we actually have 32 chunks when everything is said and done into this entire area here. All of this from here and all the way down there, all of these chunks here, each contain 32 chunks. So this is how you do storage of PROMETHIUM inside these. I have come up with this cool design, I think. And the cool thing about this design is that it is modular. So we can sort of simply just say, okay, do you want the width of the ship? The first width of the ship was just having 2 columns here. Then we may extend a little bit, and there was 3 columns, and now it's 4 columns. Sure. And 4 columns is really nice because I get 4 belts in and then putting into 4 columns. Very, very nice. And I have an overflow here so that it tries to sort of push it into the production capacity or the production first. But other than that, it goes all the way down here and then it goes all the way out. You can see that there's a gap here. What we're basically seeing is that we are first we have sort of when we have it empty, then we start sort of using it for production. But then when we don't have any more production, we put it into storage, and then we fly back, and then you can see that it's also sort of emptying the storage from out here when it comes out. So there's sort of filling up this buffer and then emptying the buffer, filling up the buffer, emptying the buffer. That's the rhythm of it, and we try to consume it in the rate that is coming in. But anything that is in excess of our consumption, or if we don't have any consumption right now, then we just put it into a buffer so that when we get the consumption again, we can start burning through it. Because remember, the ship is not always consuming, or it's not always being able to collect PROMETHIUM, because it actually has to fly back to Navis both to drop off science and to pick up biter eggs. So there is a there's an issue that we need a buffer so that when we fly out of the PROMETHIUM field and until we get back into the PROMETHIUM fields, I need to have a buffer so that I can produce during that time. And that's basically how this works. If we go a little bit into detail, it comes in at 60 per second. Then it splits into 2 lanes. The reason why I split into 2 lanes is because it goes into a red belt, which is only 30 per second. Then it goes red from here. It goes the green line all the way down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Comes out here the green, goes into the blue, up, down, up, down, up, down. Comes out the blue, and then goes back into the red, up, down, up, 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 down. The red one comes up and merges together with the other side, which also comes out, and then it goes back from 2 times 30 into 1 times 60. This is why this belt looks half empty and this one looks half empty, but then it comes in and becomes a full belt again, and you can sort of see that it's slowly filling up all the way down here, filling up the storage. And we have a counter up here that monitors how much we actually have on the ship. We currently have 320,000 PROMETHIUM chunks stored in here. So let's look at production. We're looking at a different ship. This is as good as I could make it with the space we have available, because I really want to make this out of the central production facility. And the way it works is that we get quantum processors and we get bidirects in here. Then we get all of the PROMETHIUM that we get from the storage and from the production. So you can see this is a different ship. The production isn't quite keeping up. So we're basically having the production being consumed, but then started also just consuming from our buffer until our collection rate exceeds our consumption rate. So it goes in here and we're prioritizing the newly crafted stuff. So we leave a buffer intact for as long as possible. When it goes into a mirrored module here, this module, it is quite, I would say, ingenious. The way it works is you can see that it collects from here. It needs to be able to get these outbound here. Those are 2 stack inserters, so they can consume or they can move 240 per second. If we look at this one, this is going to be, it's producing 180 if it is working at all times. But if we look at it, it says waiting for ingredients. It is the PROMETHIUM chunks that I cannot get in fast enough. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 16 inserters going in here. I can't get it faster than that without sort of, I can't get it faster than this because I do need to have an input. I've sort of been doing this silly thing where I get the quantum processors out here and then they leap over to the other one side. So this one goes in and goes in through this one to in here. And that can keep up the output, can keep up, the bidirects can keep up by putting it on a belt and then picking up again. I'm making sure that I don't put them out on a belt unless these can actually consume. So we just want to manage that this has something but not sort of overfilled with bidirects, and this belt also being overfilled with bidirects. That's also why we have these laser turrets, because by the time we run out of bidirects there will be like a half stack in here that will spawn. So we just need to be able to kill it. But this is as fast as I can get it, because we're running like this. How fast is it? Well, if we look at it sort of on a 1 minute or 10 minute period here, then it's producing at 35,000. Let's see this one. 34,000. Oh, 4,500. 345,500 divided by 10. 10, yeah. That is per minute, and then divided by 60, that means it's producing 570 per second. And of course that's because there are 2 modules and each of those. So it's producing quite a decent amount when it is producing, but of course it won't be able to produce all the time. And that will something we'll come back to in later episode when we do the logistics part. What we also have in this area, we have a number of other things. This one I'll come back to later on because it's really weird. This is just a silly way for me to use as little space as possible to get the fuel out, because the fuel goes out here. Because I wanted to have as much space as possible here. This is a counter, and what it does is it is counting up to 100,000 ticks. 100,000 ticks. There are 60 ticks in a second. So divided by 60, then we get seconds. Divided by 60 more, then we get minutes. That means it's 27.77 minutes. And the biter eggs have a duration of 30 minutes. So basically when we've been at it for 27 minutes, and if something has gone wrong, then I want to throw a warning so that I can start ejecting it. And if we connect this one to here, then it will automatically send a skull signal, and then it'll start ejecting. It can eject because this is a stack inserter on a moving belt that is 80 per second, so we can eject to 480 per second, which means that the speed that we can eject it at is what is 0.77 times 60? Okay, that's 46 seconds. So that's 2 minutes. That's this plus the 46 seconds. So I have 166 seconds to eject if we sort of eject with this, and we can eject. Thank you, autosave. Eject at a rate of times 480. So we can actually eject 80,000 biter eggs in if we are sort of panic mode here. So this is really nice to know that we have an option to sort of get rid of a lot of biter eggs quickly, which goes out and just goes out here and gets ejected. The reason why these are set to 0, that's because they're just basically monitoring what's on the belt and throwing whatever is on the belt out with stack inserters. So that's just a safety. It was particularly important as we were tweaking and tuning that we were able to sort of get this thrown out in a quick way. But as this has sort of reached a stable state, we don't need that anymore. But it's still there, just as a contingency, because things just tend to go wrong when if I do something wrong. So it's nice to have that. Next thing is, well, this is very simple. This is a compact build of a fusion power. Everything is of course legendarized. That we legendary everything. And this is producing, I don't know, it produces enough power. That's the only thing that matters, right? It's producing 3.3 gigawatt of power potentially, and we don't use anywhere near that. So this is just, you could make do with something less, but I don't want to, because we have laser turrets and stuff like that. So let's just make sure that we have enough, and we do have plenty of space. Then of course we have a lot of storage. Why do we have so much storage? Well, that's for biter eggs, but we'll come back to why we need so many biter eggs. But this is basically storage for biter eggs. And also there's another important thing is the unloading and loading capacity for a spaceship is dependent on the rocket silos, but not only the rocket silos, because you also constrained by this one can consume or can send out 3 rockets at a time, or receive 3 rockets, and each of these can receive or send 1. So the number of cargo bays is also depending on how fast you can receive things inbound on the spaceship, and how fast you can eject things off the spaceship. This ship comes back with, let's see if I have a ship here. This ship comes back with about 1 million science when it comes back. So you do need to be able to eject it pretty quickly. So that's something to keep in mind. So the remaining module, let's take a ship that's actually in movement. Here there is a movement. Then that is about the thrusters. Right, so the way you design thrusters for this is you simply figure out how many you have. You have 65. So 65 times 300, because that's how much they can consume per second, each of them. So you want to be able to make 19,500 of each of the fuel and oxidizer in order for this to be able to run maximum thrust all the time. Nothing about efficiency. This is just, you want it run at maximum all the time. The size of the ship is also very deliberate. As you make the ship bigger, it needs more thrust, it slows down, and I want it to be fast. But you cannot get more. If you extend it out here, then you also need to protect this part out here. So the width of the ship is basically how many thrusters you can have. The wider the ship, then for some reason there's a drag in space, so that also slows it down more than sort of the weight of the ship in itself. So it you can basically make it a box shape, and the wider you have it, the more it collects. The faster you have the ship, the more it collects. But you can't do more than this. There is an option for sort of making a little bridge out here, and then you can see these ones have a cast a shadow, but that shadow is not very big. So that means you can actually just build a bridge out here and then make a scaffolding with an extra set of thrusters. I don't like that, so I choose not to do it. That means I have some very hard constraints about how fast my ship can go. There's no way that I can make it go faster than this. I would have to make it lighter. If I make it lighter, then I don't have the storage. If I don't have the storage, then I don't have a continuous production. So there's a lot of things that balance out with a ship design like this. If you do the, in my opinion, cheating mode, then yes, you can make it faster. You can also do an alternative to what I do here, where I lead these out and lead them out here. You can also, with the clever trick of bringing a biter egg on this platform, putting a landmine underneath it, letting it hatch, then spider will hatch, explode the landmine will punch a hole through the space platform, and that's how you can make discontinuous spaceships and actually make a hole here where you can just throw it directly into the hole. I don't need it, I don't like it. That also means that I couldn't leave you a blueprint that you can actually build, because you'd have to sort of build it in a weird way first. So I don't use that, but I am aware that it exists. Back to the thrusters. We need 19,000 or 20,000. So how much is this producing for us? This is producing, well, 19,000. That's great, but we have 2 of these. So this is a quite a simple design. Like, it takes a lot of effort to design stuff like this, but hey, it works. So basically we have these 2 out here. They're producing 19,000 of this. This is 9,000. Yeah, okay, so it's just exactly 90,000, but we do have it in twice as much. The way it works is that we have the calcite coming in here, the calcite is going in here, and then it is, oh, the calcite here. Calcite is coming into that side and that side. This is keeping both of those fed with calcite, and then any ice that it also produces goes out in this belt. Then I have this little monitor here that monitors the belt content, so that I will supplement with additional ice when needed, because I want to make sure there's always ice, and this one can produce so much ice, but I want to make sure that the ice coming from this process is used first. And then we just have some carbon in here and some iron in here, and then we have this production here. It's quite simple, and it goes out into this. The whole thing is connected with this liquid bus, which goes over here, and then we have exactly identical. So now we actually have a complete production here of 38,000, and we only need 19,500. We also have a little bit of storage just so that we are ready for an emergency or whatever, and startup mode and something. But this is it's easy to make, and then we have something that can fuel all of this. We have a little bit more in terms of controls of the ship. We have this module here. This module is making sure that we rebalance. Basically, I want 1,400 of each of the different types on the ship, and then I'm basically saying if it's more than 1,000, which means like a lot, then, and it is the one that has the most here, more than 1,000, more than the other one, more than the other one, then this one is then sending a green signal to this one here, which will then sort of convert the carbonic into maybe some of the other ones. And this is the way for me to rebalance whatever I have on the belt, and just make sure that they balance out. Generally it should work, because we're getting like a pretty even spread, but it's really nice to have this one also, because since when you go from the PROMETHIUM field and back in, for example here, then this stretch, for example, has a hell of a lot more oxide asteroids. So it's really this long stretch here, both on the inbound side and the outbound side. This is 100,000, and also this side here also has more big asteroids. So we're going to end up with the majority of the journey here, both in and out, is heavily on ice. So we do need to have a way to convert these, and the inner planets is more heavily on the metallic ones. So that's just the small things that we can do to make sure that it balances out. Then we have over here, this is basically our metric of saying how much do we actually want of each of these. We want 1,400 of each, and then how much we actually have, and then these modules will just make sure that it continuously balances out. Those are the only things we have like as controls. One's controlling the collection rate, and the other one sort of rebalancing once it is inbound. The last, and certainly not the least important module, is the ammo production module. This ammo production is going to be idle most of the time. This is designed so that we can get all the way to the shattered planet, at least with a slimmer ship, but it is way overscaled, and I want it to be overscaled. Like, we have enough space on this ship, so I wanted to make sure that we are overscaling this. We have this belt out here that contains, how much does it contain actually? This one, 12,000 and 11,000. So it can go up to 12,000 on this belt all the way around. So we do have a lot of buffer, plus all the buffer inside all the rocket turrets. But we also need production, and this is going like this. You can see, if we actually ever see it actually activating, then the way it works is, and this is a little bit of an important detail, it just takes this one in here. This makes there, At this point, I don't even think I need the productivity modules, but I did when I designed it. Right, so this makes 5 carbon and 2 sulfur. This one takes 5 carbon and 1 sulfur, which means that it leaves 1 sulfur unused, and it then produces 1 coal. That means that if I do not have productivity modules in here, this is very important, then there is a perfect ratio of the coal and sulfur going in here to be 1-on-1. If I put productivity modules in this one, then I'm going to have an oversupply of carbon, and then it's actually going to jam. So very important, do not put productivity modules into this one if you want to go in and make explosives. This one is making 90 explosives per second. That's quite decent. Goes out in the belt here, and then we just supplement it with a little bit of iron. The iron comes from just down here. This one goes in and makes a liquid iron. Liquid iron comes in here, and then it goes in, gets into these two and into the other ones. So basically, how much are we actually producing in this module? We're producing 30 per second. We have 2 modules down here. That means 60, and then we have 2 modules on the other side. That means we're producing at peak 120 rockets or explosive rockets per second, which is exactly the same as a fully stacked green belt. So that's our objective. This is why we have this fully stacked half of a green belt. So even if every single bit is consumed, then we can still supplement it. So if this one was consuming 120 rockets per second, then by the time it got all the way back here, it would be another 120 per second coming in. So very, very safe, very, very overbuilt. The same is the case for this part. This is not as overbuilt. We are producing 24 because we're getting 1 full belt in here. So it can produce 24 railguns per second. And of course we have 1 on either side. So we get up to 48 railgun shots per second, which is also a quite obscene amount considering we will not be able to shoot this with these here. They just simply won't work. And we can't shoot it fast enough. But again, we have this module. I can use it for a different ship. You can make a wider ship, a bigger ship. But if you have this module, all you need is a line going by, and then it'll take care of everything yourself. I could probably even make do with 1 module, but you know, symmetry and stuff. So let's get 2 of these modules here, and that's taking care of all of our defenses on the ship. And so when we're putting all these things together, we now have a ship. But you also have a possibility to make a bigger ship, a smaller ship, a different ship, a longer ship, whatever you want. And you can then use these modules, the production, the power, storage, the productivity, the front collection and defense, the side collection, the storage, and of course the fuel production and fuel thruster setup, and of course also the controls here. So that's basically the entirety of the ship. And yeah. That's how we collect PROMETHIUM in this trip. But 1 just won't do. We're gonna need 5 of them. Technically, we only need 4 now that it's fully optimized. But yeah, you need 4 of these ships running in a constant cycle. But there are more things about this. If we go down to, let's say, come on, this one, yeah. This one. So there's more to it. Like, how do we actually get it to produce? So we're going to figure out how to get quantum processors. We're going to figure out how to do bidirects, and we're going to figure out how to actually synchronize them so the whole thing works. That's going to be in the upcoming episodes as we dive deeper into PROMETHIUM science. So remember, as always, the blueprints are available to Patreon supporters. And thank you very much everyone who's watching, following, liking, and joining in on the discussions and designs on during the live stream. So thank you for watching. Until next time, take care and stay effective.